What's up everyone? I'm back with another video, especially about photography if you read the title. And this video is sponsored by Canon, so I'm going to be giving you my 10 best photography tips. People ask me a ton of questions about photography all the time, so I'm trying to answer all of them kind of in this one video. Welcome back everyone. So I've been getting a ton of questions. Since moving to Utah, I feel like I've really done a lot of photography, especially the mountains. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram. If you do, I post a lot of wallpapers, which are just mostly landscapes or something like that people can screenshot and use as their iPhone wallpapers. I've gotten a ton of questions since posting those about camera do I use, and all these questions about photography tips and everything that these people want to know. So today I thought I'd just do a quick rundown. Here's my best tips for you, my top 10 best tips. This is my biggest secret. Most of the time I don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of experiment and try and go out there and do it, and I think that is the biggest thing. If you really want to be into photography, you kind of just have to go out there and try it and figure it out. But here's some tips that I can give you to try to help you along your way. Here's my camera. This is my newest baby, Canon EOS 1D. This is obviously pretty high-tech camera. This is not what you'll need. That's just a heads up. You don't need that kind of fancy camera. Alright, so I just swapped my cameras because the camera I want to talk about is actually the one that I film on. So obviously I do have a couple of different cameras. You don't need a bunch of different cameras to be a photographer, and that's probably the hardest part. So tip number one is trying to find the best camera, because there's so many out there to choose from. I'm going to give you probably my favorite one, especially for beginners, and it is the Canon EOS M200. Alright, so probably my favorite thing about this video is the tripod that it comes with. This lightweight and compact design makes it ideal for me to take it with me anywhere. It also can do high and low angles very easily, which is super nice for taking selfies and vlogging and all sorts of things. And it can do vertical video, which is awesome for sharing content across all different social platforms. Okay, also another thing, I struggled with this for years, was getting shots that were in focus. And this has fast and accurate dual pixel CMOS AF and eye detection AF, which is just autofocus, which helps you stay in focus and also get just the perfect shot even when you're in motion. And I love that. It can help with tracking. It's honestly one of my biggest draws to Canon cameras in general. So I wish I could show you right now, but it's tracking my eyes wherever I go, and so it stays in focus no matter how I move, which is an awesome feature of pretty much all Canon cameras, but especially this one. And this has a 4K time-lapse movie mode, which makes it super easy to capture more and just stuff for behind the scenes, which is super fun. That's kind of my favorite camera. A little bit about it, it's the one I always recommend for all beginners. It's just such an awesome beginner camera. Alright, tip number two is get to know your camera. I remember the first time I used a DSLR, it was my parents' camera, and my mom was we were there for a blogger event or something. I think I was probably 9 years old, and I was like, Mom, can I take the camera and go take pictures? I had no clue anything about what any of the buttons did, but I just went around and kind of messed around, and that's truly how you do learn. But it definitely is nice, and especially nowadays with YouTube and Google, if you just look up shutter speed and what shutter speed do I use for high light or stuff like that, it'll give you everything you need on Google. So get to know your camera, mess around a little bit. Different cameras have different little fun add-ins. This one has Wi-Fi function, which is super nice. You just move faster once you get to know your camera, which is obviously better, especially if you're shooting with models. Tip number three, always carry a camera with you. The best moments I've ever captured are ones when I was not planning to have my camera with me. I wasn't planning on doing a shoot or anything like that. I always have a camera in my car. I always keep a film camera there no matter what. I love candid moments. I think they're the best pictures. I think they're usually the pictures people of themselves the best, are candid pictures. So the smaller the camera you have, the easier it is to take with you, obviously, but just always keep a camera with you. It's just really fun to always have a camera to capture everything that's going on. Alright, tip number four is always pull inspo shots. This helps so much, even if you're just trying to find outfits, or it helps if you're the model, and it helps if you're the photographer. It's a two-way street. It helps both ways. Pinterest, best place to do this. I swear by it. Also Instagram, but if you want more organic stuff and it's easier to search, I would look on Pinterest. Let's see if I can show you. So doodle photo shoot was one that I did, and here's just a board of all these different things that I wanted to shoot, and it shows me just different angles and different props and all these different things, and it kind of gets you in the mood, and you get excited to shoot when you have a mood board. So it's definitely super helpful, everybody involved, to have a mood board. And oftentimes I find that when I pull inspo, like first couple pictures I'll do like exactly from the inspo, and then I just get so in the groove that I start coming up with really good ideas that are just like super organic, and then people use your shots for inspo, which is so fun. Playground photo shoot. Some of these I haven't even done. These are all secret Pinterest boards, by the way, but like that's so cool. I need to shoot that. Wow, I'm screenshotting that right now. See, look at that, pulling inspo all the time. I actually have a lot of screenshots and I'm always pulling inspo for different things. Okay, tip number 5 is to always research your location before going there. It just helps with a lot of different things. It helps you get to know the location, especially if it's more like staged shoot, if that makes sense. So if you're shooting somebody's graduation pictures or wedding announcements or whatever you might be shooting, for sure go and check out the location. And you only have to do it like twice. You could have even shot there before, and then I feel like you're probably good. But definitely as the seasons change and just how like the sun sets and where it's setting, it definitely helps if you scout before. I just did a photo shoot like 2 weeks ago for one of my friends, and I was trying to figure out like which location was the best. So I went and I drove to like 3 different spots, and the one I thought I was gonna shoot in ended up being my least favorite. So it definitely helps if you go beforehand and you go and you check them out and you see which one you actually like. So there's a good tip right there. I drove all the way up to the canyon, which isn't far. I don't know why I made that sound like it's far, but I drove up the canyon while it's snowing because it is so pretty. We got our first snow of the year, and it is crazy. Everybody is heading up here right now to go skiing and snowboarding. That's what happens when it snows here. I have my last 5 tips right here, right now. All right, tip number 6 is ideal timing and ideal lighting. They go hand in hand. Why do people say hand and hand? Hand in hand. There you go. They go hand in hand. Truthfully, if you want to, you can shoot any time of the day and make it work. But for beginners, the easiest times to shoot are any time that is not like 11 through 2 o'clock. Like that is probably the worst time to shoot because the sun is like, imagine like this is the sun orbiting, right? Like this is like 11 to 2 o'clock. It's like straight overhead, and that makes it like really difficult to get the right lighting because the light is like directly like shining down on you. So the lighting is always weird to play with. If you want to play with that, you can, but just know that like that time frame usually is when the sun is the hardest to work with. So you can do sunrise because then the sun will be like obviously in one direction, you get beautiful colors. Usually places are empty, so that's kind of nice for sunrise. Or you can do sunset, and I usually, if I'm doing sunset, like I'll go like an hour or 2 before, just because you don't want to miss it. Like if you get there late, or like if it's just like a perfect time, perfect location, and then you run out of time, like it's so sad. So I try to get there a little bit earlier, get what I want to get, and then wait for the sun to set and then get more. But again, that's because the sun is like directly like almost horizontal, so that means you can do a straight on light or you can do straight backlight, and it usually creates some really cool pictures. So those are kind of my lighting tips for timing the sun. Tip number 7, I kind of mentioned this before, is always get behind the scenes. I don't know if you've seen some crazy like I don't know if you've seen some of the like really cool photographers out there or models, and it's so cool to see like the behind the scenes of the photos, and honestly just for the memories, like that's what you want to get. So I'm gonna show you guys like a little behind the scenes of me shooting here. Here's some behind the scenes. I don't know, behind the scenes of me shooting the snow. I'm gonna shoot some stuff. Let's see what happened. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see, but the light is like, it's like 3 o'clock, so the light's like here. So it's perfect for what I need, the lighting wise. Also just look at the snow that's falling on me right now. It's so pretty. Okay, tip number 8 is shoot more than one spot. Even, this doesn't have to be in like changing locations necessarily, but just like changing like the angles or changing the prop or whatever. Is just get a ton of variety. Even if you think you've already gotten it, get more. And you can never really have enough, I promise you. But really, the more the better. You're gonna end up with more pictures that you like if you get more and you narrow them down. And if you have a model or a friend who's just like, I have so many to pick from, like that's a good thing. That's a compliment. That's what you want, is when they can't narrow down because there's so many that are so good. Tip number 9 is trial and error. There's gonna be a lot of times when things don't work out. I've done so many shoots where things just aren't working and you just have to try again another day. But there's plenty of times when I like just went out there and did whatever I wanted to do and ended up with some really cool pictures. All right, and number 10, my last tip is pretty simple in that kind of counterintuitive actually. It's just don't overcomplicate things. I think a lot of times like photography is so overwhelming to people because they don't know everything about it. And the thing that's cool about it is you don't need to know everything about it. it. Like, it's kind of like painting. Like, you could have a $10,000 million worth painting that is like this beautiful portrait of a lady, and then you could also have like a $10 million painting that is just paint splatters. Like, art is so cool like that because you can really just shoot whatever. You don't have to have like really any experience to get like a really beautiful shot. So really just don't overcomplicate. Just go out there, have fun, mess around, and I promise you, you'll get something good. Whether it's today or tomorrow, just keep at it and you'll get something, I promise you. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this video. I'm enjoying the snow. It is beautiful. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing some of the pictures and some like little behind the scenes of me shooting some stuff today. And hopefully all these tips help. And thanks to Canon for sponsoring this video. Obviously, I'm a huge Canon fan. I've always got my cameras with me. I have 3 with me right now. 3 different cameras. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you next week. Bye.